Okay. So how to go? Andham tamah pravishanti ye avidyam upasate tato bhuya ivate tamo ya uvidyayam rataha anyad evahur vidyaya anyadahura vidyaya iti shushrumadhiranam enastadvicha chakshire vidyam cha yastadvedo bhayam sah avidyaya mrityum tirtva vidyaya mritamashnuте. So how does this go is it talks about two things, vidya and avidya. So generally there is a certain confusion that gets created here. Okay, and here vidya and avidya does not mean, in the normal Vedantic sense, we use this term vidya and avidya to indicate vidya as knowledge, jnanam, and avidya is ignorance. Correct? That's the usual connotation of the terms vidya and avidya. But in this case, it's not so. Here, the Upanishad does not use the terms vidya and avidya in that context. It uses it in the context of vidya being somebody who's doing upasana. Avidya means somebody who's doing rituals, karma. Okay. So this you must be familiar with. There are two forms. There are two kinds of worship that we do, right? One worship is we do ritual worship using karma, using your hands, your fingers, your mudras. You have dravyam, you have things, you have objects, material. You have a deity. You have a deity, and you have offerings, naivedyam. All of that is part of ritual worship that we do. That's karma. Then there is upasana. Upasana is where you actually meditate upon the deity, you internalize the deity, and you possibly do this whole process without external action. You possibly do it internally. You close your eyes and then you will offer, you will do the Shodasha Upachara. You give a bath to the image. So you create an image of Devi or Ganapati, you give him a bath, you dry him up, and then you dress him up, you put abharanas on him, and then you apply tilak, you give him incense sticks, you do a deepam, then you give him naivedyam, achamaniyam, naivedyam, all of that, right? All of this, the Shodashopachara, you do it in your, through a whole, you play it in your mind. Okay. So some of these things, when you do it in the mind, it's a form of meditation, right? This is called as upasana. Okay. And in fact, if you want to connect it to the four Vedas, not the four Vedas, the four angas of a Veda, which is Samhita, Brahmana, Aranyaka, and Upanishad. The Aranyaka portion deals with upasana, whereas the Samhita and the Brahmana portion deals with karma. The Aranyaka portion deals with upasana. Upasana is where you do this kind of a meditation, either on form or you can also do it on formless, whatever meditation that you do when you internalize. So here Vidya and Avidya in these three shlokas are spoken about in this context. Okay, that's the first thing to note. Because it is very easy to confuse, and Vedanta uses, if you go to other, generally when you go to the commentaries by gurus, masters, by Adi Shankara and the others, they stick to a certain terminology. Wherever they say Vidya, it always means Jnanam. Wherever it is Avidya, it means ignorance. That's usually the terminologies that they use. But Upanishad is not bound by any of this. Correct? Upanishads are in Vedic literature, and these are outpourings by rishis. They are not bound by any laws or rules. this is the word, this is how you should use it. For them, they are free to use what they want to use, and it's for you to figure out and understand. And that is why we require commentaries by masters, right? Because these 3 verses can easily lead somebody to misunderstanding what these words mean. Okay, so let's look at what the mantras mean. Andham tamah pravishanti ye avidyam upasate. The one who worships avidya goes to darkness. Andham, darkness. Tamaha is tamas, which is the darkness of tamoguna. So enters into the blinding. So andham is blinding, darkness, tamaha. Blinding darkness, one enters. Pravishanti, ye, who? Ye, avidyam upasate. The one who worships. Upasate means worships avidya. Okay. The next line says, tataha, therefore, or hence, or since, or whatever, right? Tataha, tato bhuya iva, as though more than that is te tamaha, that darkness into which vidyayam rataha, the one who engage themselves in vidya, they go into deeper darkness. Okay. So this is counterintuitive to what we understand vidya and avidya. So the one who is worshipping avidya or following the path of avidya, he goes into darkness. But one who is in the path of vidya, he goes into deeper darkness. So then if you say vidya is jnanam, then there's contradiction here. How can jnanam lead you into deeper darkness? I understand avidya can lead you to darkness, but how can vidya lead you to deeper darkness? Correct? So there's clear contradiction here, which is why it does not what it seems. And that is why commentaries are required. So vidya here means upasana or meditation, and avidya means rituals. Now what it shows, this first mantra talks about extremities. Okay, it talks about extremes. How extremes can lead you into any form of ignorance. Whether I choose, so now we are re-establishing the meaning of the word vidya and avidya. Avidya means rituals, the karma or the external bahya karma that you do in terms of rituals or worship. The avidya, the vidya here, vidya means the inner processes that you do. Okay. What the Upanishad says is, don't go to extremes. If you go to one extreme to say that I am only going to do rituals, I am only going to follow, I am only going to do Vigraha Puja alone, I am only going to have a photograph and I'm going to keep praying all my life, and I think that is going to lead me to moksha. He says, no, that will take you only to darkness. Then the next line says, then I reject, completely I reject idols. I completely reject any kind of form. And I say, I am only going to meditate, and I am not going to do any form of rituals on the outside. And I'm only going to process within me. That, he says, will lead you into greater darkness. Now, how do we look at this? The first one is relatively easy, right? When we say that I am only going to do rituals, like I'm a karma kandin. And this is the problem that Mandana Mishra had with Adi Shankara. Those who know the Mandana Mishra story, Mandana Mishra was the first or one of the greatest Vedic scholar during Adi Shankara's time. And he became Sureshwaracharya, the first disciple of Adi Shankara. So how Mandana Mishra defeated him. And this is a very famous story where there is this debate between Mandana Mishra and Adi Shankara, and his wife Bharati, Mandana Mishra's wife Bharati, is appointed by Shankara as the judge. And then both of them are wearing a mala, and to say that whose mala decays first will be considered to have lost the debate, and that person should take the refuge into that person should take the other person as the teacher. And this is the story where Adi Shankara, at one point there was a question of how does a householder, the experience of a householder, right? And then Adi Shankara then goes into the body of a dead king who was dead just a few minutes ago. He goes into his body, lives a single day in the body of a king as a householder, and then gathers all the experience of a householder, and then comes back and continues the debate. So there, this Mandana Mishra was a very, very devout and a very strong Vedic scholar. And as a Vedic scholar, he only looked at the karma kanda of the Vedas. And he believed truly that by doing all the karmas and all the rituals, he can attain to moksha, to the highest understanding, to the highest abode, to the truth. This is what he believed. And he kept doing that. And that is why people who are so bent upon rituals, they think that the feeling is that they'll carry this body, or the karma that this body has done will come along. It will, but in the subtle form. Just because you're doing a certain karma doesn't necessarily yield it's like saying you cannot do enough karmas to attain to the highest knowledge. How many karmas can you do such that you attain the highest knowledge? Like, for example, mantras. For mantras, there is something called as Purascharana. The number of syllables in a mantra times 1 lakh you do. So suppose you take Gayatri mantra, there are 24 syllables, and you do 24 lakh times of Gayatri mantra sadhana, you have attained the siddhi of the mantra. That's called Purascharana. This is possible. You can attain the siddhi of the mantra. And what will it give? It will give what the mantra can give. It can't give you moksha. And you do large yajnas and large rituals, it can take you up till maybe even Brahmaloka. But not Vaikuntha. Right? It cannot take you, assuming Vaikuntha is complete realization of the self, assuming that is the ultimate. Assuming that this can take you only till a certain point. Maybe it will go to Pitraloka, Indraloka, Deval, whatever lokas it can go. Right? These yajnas or rituals that we do in the Vedic karma kanda. So this Adi Shankara proved to, through logic, through debate, he proved it to Mandana Mishra. And Mandana Mishra became his disciple. So what this Upanishad is saying here, the Rishi is saying is that he's saying just by pure rituals, don't think that you will attain to the highest truth. Which means, those who know the story, the movie of Baba, right? This guy keeps saying, நானும் 40 வருஷமா கோவில் பண்ணிருக்கேன், காளிகாம்பாளை சேவிச்சுட்டு இருக்கேன், எனக்கு வராத காளிகாம்பாள் இந்த பாபாக்கு வந்தா அப்படின்னு. He'll keep repeating that. So it doesn't matter 40 years, 50 years, you keep going to temples, you keep doing your worship, you keep doing all of that. It's not going to necessarily yield the highest knowledge or understanding. Correct? It will make you, possibly it will purify your activities a little by little. But if you get stuck there, then it's like you're in darkness, you're in ignorance. That is what it means. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't do it. Now that is where the second line comes. Then you say, oh, okay, then I shouldn't do any of these rituals. Because the Upanishad says that avidyam upasate, ye avidyam upasate, andham tamav pravishanti. They go into andhakar or darkness. Then let me not do rituals. Let me then do only upasana. Right? Let me then only do upasana, which means where I am saying I will only do, I will only internalize. I will only sit in one corner and meditate all my life. Right? I will not engage in activity. I will not engage with people. Now, we are not talking about, see, if you notice, this Upanishad is not necessarily for the sannyasins. This is not for the renunciants who have gone into the forest or the Himalayas to do tapas and penance and all that. This Upanishad is talking to us, people living in this world. Kurvannebeha karmani jijivishe chatagum samaha. Right? We're living in this world. How do we engage with this? This is what it is teaching. Right? So this Upanishad is focusing on that. So when we look at this, so can I completely ignore ritual? No, I can't. And then if I'm going to do only meditations, if I'm going to only focus on inner processes without giving any value to some of these activities, that can lead me into greater darkness. What is greater darkness here? Greater darkness means it increases your ego. Ego is the greater darkness, right, in this case. When you do rituals and you think you can lead, you will attain the highest, that is darkness. But that darkness is understandable because it's like, Ayyo Pavam, he's stuck in this, right? Oh, he's stuck in this. How do I help this guy out? That is what happens. But then when somebody is knowingly ignoring any rituals or any action or any of these aspects, and then completely just focusing on saying that I don't want to do any of this, I don't want to engage in any rituals, and I'm only going to go inwards. I'm not going to go to a temple. I'm not going to do any chanting. I'm not going to read anything. And I'm at a very evolved level. I'm at a very evolved stage. Now, if I'm going to tell that to myself, and I'm going to sit and all I'm going to do is only meditate and not do anything else, that creates a certain level of inner illusion of having attained it. And this inner illusion is greater darkness. Correct? This inner illusion is a larger darkness, a greater darkness that we are in. And so, the first mantra that it says is Andham tamav pravishanti ye avidyam upasate tato bhuya ivate tamo ye avidyayam rataha. So the first, if you are only focusing on rituals, so essentially it is warning us from extremities, any form of extremities. Neither this side, you're completely focused on just physical activity, or on the other side, you're completely focused only on mental activity without giving any focus onto your physical engagements. Both are not good. If you think the rituals is going to take you into darkness, this is going to take you into deeper darkness. And deeper darkness there is ignorance of the high. Ignorance, we've seen this. Ignorance is one where it can be easily broken because you are possibly not aware of a greater or of a possibility, right? Next level of possibility, you're not aware. So that ignorance is okay because it can be easily circumvented. Some teacher comes and you can circumvent that. But the ignorance that I know everything and hence I am doing this and getting stuck in that, is a much dangerous situation. Right? So then even if there is a teacher who's coming, the mind will tell that I already know all of this. I already know it. And then you're stuck there. And that being stuck in the next mantras it will talk about, we'll pick it up next week. The next mantras will talk about how that, when you get stuck into that, it's very difficult one to get out of that. Right? So that is, so that's mantra 9. So we will pause here today and we will pick up next week. Hari Om Ji, Namaskaram. See, these 3 mantras are very beautiful because it actually gives you it gives you an idea of how we should not get stuck in extremities on either sides, because we tend to do that. And there are even organizations that promote such things, right? We just have to be careful that we don't get stuck in extremities. Both are important. When the wise one, in the next 3rd mantra, it says the wise ones, they bring it together. They do both. And that is why if you see masters, they will do both. They will also do some amount of rituals or some amount of puja prayer. They will also do dhyana, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, all of that. Right? They'll do both. Why do they do both? To show us that both are equally important. They don't need to do any rituals. They can just sit down and they be in samadhi all the time, but they still engage in some of these activities. Right? So we will go to the next mantra in the following week. And
actually, Sri Anna they're still doing our personal puja Vrindavan. So I was just wondering, so when they've gone to that stage, why do they still accept all these things?
What is that?
When they've gone to a higher level, why do they accept all these rituals, doing garlanding them?
And I didn't follow the question, Krishna.
Yesterday I was watching Vrindavan, Sri Anna I was just thinking, having gone to that higher state, why they accept all these rituals still?
That's because for the devotees themselves, for the love of the devotees.
It is for us. It is for us. They're accepting it. They don't have anything in their minds.
They don't need it.
And they only consider that whatever they're doing to them is for the gurus.
It's for the Lord. So our Sri put it on Krishna Premi, he will think it's on.
In fact, your point on the thought on the what blessing they will do, because they know that, see, to their level of state, they think that okay, this samsara itself is nothing. It's nothing for them, right? So bless pannumbodhu, it's a thoughtless state where they will be to even bless, right? So enna thought
they see, when you become a channel, what thought occurs to you does not matter, right? The moment you become a channel and you know you're an instrument, it doesn't matter whatever thought comes through. Doesn't matter, right? It will come through as a blessing. And whatever that blessing is, that is what is meant for you. Because they're not processing. They're thinking, oh, inga vandu kaasu ulla aalu vandu enakku mala podran, so I should give him a good blessing. Even vandu thittina, so I should give him a bad this thing. Nothing. They just become an instrument.
So it's emitting whatever you have on them.
That's all. Okay.
Okay. Sorry.
No. Thank you for that. Om Kayena Vacha Manasendriyerva Buddhyatmana va Prakrite Svabhavat Karomi Yatyat Sakalam Parasmai Narayanayeti Samarpayami Sadashivayeti Samarpayami Jagadambikayeti Samarpayami Sadgurunathayeti Samarpayami Hari Om Tat Sat Guru Namo. Hari Om. Hari Om, everyone.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.